Hey, friends. So, interesting couple days, and I'm working through something that I have not conclusively resolved for myself. But the reason I say it's an interesting couple days is because I've spoken in the last couple of video posts about, well, particularly yesterday I was talking about how the context that we select in which to work, in which to live, in which to make our contribution to the world, that context is a big deal. It makes all the difference. I mean, like massively, massively, it makes a difference to everything. That is what determines in so many ways what our um, contribution actually is, right? Like it, where we decide to invest our energy. It's like we can have goals, or we can say we want to make a difference in the world, or we can have a certain amount of just kind of unconscious desire to be to do good, or semi-conscious desire to do good. But where we actually say, like, where we actually decide to sort of like put our focus determines so much of what we actually end up doing and what our contribution ends up being. And I have been reflecting on this. I mean, I spoke about it yesterday on my post because it feels highly relevant to me right now. And as always, the universe kind of um, gives me a response, lets me know it's listening. Because one of the ways in which I have noticed that I can get pulled off track is by saying yes to things that are not deeply in alignment with what I'm about. And so part of what I have to do, and part of what I've had to do recently, is say no to a kind of like a cascade of requests. And it's hard because sometimes you think, well, maybe these are like opportunities, like that story about the man where there's a flood coming, and first they send a truck, and then they send a boat, and then they send a helicopter, and he says, no, 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 God will save me. And then at the end, he dies, and he gets to heaven, and he asks God, like, why didn't you save me? And God said, well, I tried. I sent you a truck, a boat, and a helicopter. And it's like, maybe you should be seeing the opportunities that are in front of you, taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. So that's on one side of my awareness, there's that sense that, like, well, I don't want to just be like looking a gift horse in the mouth. But there's another side, which is equally, I mean, I guess in the case that I'm talking about, it's more compelling, which is I've not yet gotten a call that is fully in alignment. And most of them are pretty much mostly out of alignment, and a little bit maybe in alignment. Not all of them, but a good number of the ones I've gotten recently. And so the discipline, it doesn't feel like the discipline is saying yes to the truck or the rubber boat or the helicopter. It feels like the discipline is saying no to things that, if I don't say no to them, they will have claimed a certain amount of real estate in my calendar, in my energy, in my head space. And I think I'm going through a pretty significant period of cultivating what I allow into those territories. What do I put on my calendar? What do I put in my headspace? Where do I put my energy? And, particularly a call I got yesterday, I think yesterday, about a big project that I'm very invested in, or at least it's one that always comes back and becomes it's very easy for it to draw my focus because it feels like a big aspect of what I can point to as successful work. But there's a missing piece in that the energetic investment and the totality of the investment are not I'm not permitted to connect them fully with myself. Because of the nature of the situation, it's only possible for me to be half-hearted. I can't do a wholehearted job. And I know folks out there, I have friends and colleagues who would say, well, don't be too idealistic. Incremental progress is progress, right? And I don't disagree with that on some level. I think there's a part of me that's going, yeah, but is this actually incremental progress? Or is this throwing good money after bad? And I guess that's the question I have to answer. I'm talking it through with you. Thank you for listening if you're still here. Because I care so much about this project, and I care so much about the ultimate success that feels like it's somehow commanded, somehow deserved by this project. Not just my success, but the success of the project. And so it's a very alluring, very seductive place for me to put my energy. But if I look at my history with it, I have put my energy there a number of times, and it's only ever been a very temporary kind of payoff, temporary kind of satisfaction. And it's never been wholehearted. It's never been allowed to be wholehearted. And so there I am. So that's what I'm actually facing, is a decision about whether or not I can step into something and do it knowing that that my wholeheartedness is kind of already blocked. Or maybe that's not fair to say. Maybe there's a world in which I could do the job within limitations but still do it wholeheartedly. I suppose I will admit that I could be convinced that that's possible. But I also know that I've tried that I've done that. That's essentially how I've worked so far on this project. And every time I think that the door's opening or things are moving, turns out to be not so much the case. So, if I'm going to do it, I need to be wholehearted about it. If I'm going to do it, I have to be wholehearted about something, some aspect of it. That's, I think, maybe one of the keys. Simply conceding or surrendering or resigning myself to doing it half-heartedly doesn't feel good. So I suppose this is an interesting. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate the. If anybody's still watching this at minute 11, you're basically following my train of thought as I work through my relationship to something important to me, and that's how you get there. And I find externalizing it. I could do this in my mind. I could in 12 to 15 minutes of speaking out loud, presuming an audience, I'll make progress that would take me days or weeks or months if it's just going in my head and not actually really ever getting out there, which obviously is also one of the things that make me continue doing this post. It's why it's one of the massive payoffs of this process. So I'm gonna think this through, and I'll keep you updated. I'll let you know what happens. I think I know my answer, because I do want to live wholeheartedly, and I do think that I have enough information to decide. But short of making the decision right now, I will certainly update you tomorrow. And thank you again for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.